Hey traders, Raghee here, and in this free recap video we're going to take a look at the S&P. Now there's a few things I want to mention about the S&P. We'll dive into it more in the premium video, but I want to make sure everybody here keeps this one thing in mind, especially when it comes to the ES. And that is the ES really is in many ways tethered to the NASDAQ. It's very difficult for the S&P to do its own thing unless the NASDAQ, meaning tech, or in combination, financials and healthcare can move together to maybe offset what might be going on with tech. In other words, if tech isn't taking the S&P higher, you better have some help from the XLF. You better have some help from the XLV guiding prices to the upside. Otherwise, it's really difficult for the market to overcome that. Now, you can see the XLV, healthcare, had a really rough day today. And you could see UNH was down. There was a number of names. So this isn't one of those days where I'm going to say the S&P is going to be able to do its own thing. So you might be a little hesitant to take the morning breakout, which is sitting here. Now I know this chart has a lot of data on it and it looks a lot of squiggles and so forth, but I've just got a lot of things squeezed into an area here. Suffice to say, it's almost like a pilot. That's the way I kind of look at it. If you're a brand new pilot flying a basic smaller propeller plane, I don't fly, but the dashboard there's a lot going on. But I know when I'm boarding a large aircraft, flying out to wherever I'm going to fly out to, and I look at the cockpit of a giant jet, my gosh, it's overwhelming. And I think once you have the training to know what to look at when, to look at what seems like just spaghetti on the chart, you know when to tune your eyes to certain things. So let's start with tuning our eyes to the clearing range breakout. Now I know that I don't have the XLV helping, and I know that this morning we did not have tech and the NASDAQ helping. So the S&P was kind of out on its own, and I'm thinking I don't play the S&P to the long side unless those factors that I've just described are happening. So I'm going to wait and see, can this market establish itself above, this is the middle line of the volume weighted average price. Now, there are a lot of things that happen below the surface. Let's call the surface price. That's not in any way to belittle price, but there's a lot of things happening under the surface of price, and so I look at the candles, but on which side of the volume weighted price are the candles? Am I printing mostly green, red, or blue candles? So there's a lot of things happening just underneath price, just using price, but how do I see again? Not just what's on the surface of the water, but underneath. Imagine like having sonar, right? And you're able to ping away, seeing things that on the surface, and certainly even to the naked eye, you may not even be able to see. So that's really what I'm talking about here. And one of the most basic ways to understand what's happening below the surface is to look at the way price and volume are converging. One way to do that is the volume weighted average price. There are a number of ways to use those very basic important tools. But very quickly, you can start to see that the market was struggling, and today was not a simple, straightforward day. But here's the great thing, and I think this is really important. So what's the takeaway here? I'm not going to show you a bunch of really great trades. We do that in other videos. We had monster trades in crude oil today. We had monster trades in Chevron today. We had a lot of great trades. But what I want to show you is, how do you pick a direction? How do you trade with a bias? And that bias is going to keep you from the wrong side of the trade. So to me, anyone who was trying to fight the trend and not just look for lower lows to buy, when can you take advantage of lower lows to buy? Wherever those corrections may be. As long as you stuck with a bullish bias, you actually did okay today. You might have been on the sidelines if you didn't like the structure of the market, but as long as you stuck with bullish bias, you're actually okay. And that's the takeaway from this video. How are you seeing what's happening below the surface? Try the middle line of the volume weighted average price on a 1-minute chart and see if that doesn't help you pick a side, because that's something that for me has been a huge needle mover in my career. I hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next video.